and your team for hosting this event for your membership. So I'm going to share my screen now, and just for audience members, after I'm done my presentation portion, I will be copy and pasting some helpful links into the chat box, and I encourage you to save those links into your notes or on a notepad, or you can simply open it in your browser. Once this event closes, all the notes that were typed in the chat, they do disappear. But moving right along. So thank you for that warm introduction. I am Sheila Chung. I'm a student recruitment officer at the Chartered Professional Accountants of British Columbia. I am also RISIA certified. What does that mean? That means I am authorized to advise on work permit and study permit as it relates to the CPA program. Now, all the information I'm sharing with you today is current as of today's date, February 15, 2024. For the most up-to-date and current information, if you are referencing in the future, please do refer to our various CPA websites, such as a CPA provincial website, our CPA regional website, as well as our CPA Canada website. Now, demand, growth, and compensation in Canada. So getting to the most relevant, most interesting bullet point on this slide, many people are curious, how much money could I make if I was CPA Canada designated? Now, CPA Canada did a recent salary survey in 2023. Now, based on those designated CPA Canada members that participated in this survey, the median compensation for designated CPAs across Canada was $143,000 per year. Now, I work at CPA BC, so I'm going to share with you some BC-specific information. Now, the median compensation for a designated CPA in British Columbia is $131,000 per year. Now, you might be curious, which Canadian province had the highest median compensation? You can think of the answer to yourself. The top median compensation province in Canada was Alberta. Now, pursuing and working with your CPA Canada designation, yes, this is a prestigious designation in Canada, but more importantly, this is a credible designation that's sought after by employers. When you were doing your job search here in Canada, here in British Columbia, you'll notice that many senior level accounting and finance positions under requirements. What is the eligibility? They are looking for an individual that has the CPA Canada designation. Now, with your designation, you can pursue job opportunities domestically and abroad. And yes, working in the accounting sector does provide a lot of job security. Now, when you work as a CPA, you can choose what type of employer you would like to apply to. You can work in the accounting and finance department with perhaps an IT company, or you could work in the accounting and finance department, perhaps in a human resource development organization. Many individuals will pursue employment at an accounting firm, so a CPA public practice firm. Now, further information in regards to the salary survey, if you are immigrating or living in a different province in Canada, I will be providing links to the complete CPA Canada salary survey so you can check the Canadian province where you live. Now, it's always recommended to learn more about the profession. Now, specifically in British Columbia, we have a few free resources for you. We do have a free magazine. You can actually have access to our magazine called CPA BC in Focus, free online through our website. You can also explore our CPA BC website on your laptop and also very friendly viewable on your phone. Probably the most fun one is that we are on Spotify. We have our own podcast called Coffee Chats with CPA BC. Here you can listen while you're on transit or in your car, about 20 to 30-minute interviews that we have one-on-one with various CPA designated members to find out, where do you actually work? How did you start your career path? And what do you do in your free time? Stay connected with CPA BC. There are a number of ways you can do this. Many of you may have already created your My CPA profile. This is your master control station of where you'll do everything with us. With us, I'm meaning CPA BC and the CPA Western School of Business. Now, through CPA BC, we have our own online e-newsletter called Career Connect. This is free for you to subscribe to. You can unsubscribe at any time. And if you have your cell phone handy, you are welcome to scan that QR code and you can sign up for Career Connect in 20 seconds. Here, we email to you once a month upcoming invitations to our upcoming networking events, our job finding events, to connect you directly to employers who are seeking to hire persons who are enrolled in our CPA program, and even those designated CPAs. We host our events online, virtual, hybrid, as well as in person. Only after a person is formally enrolled in the CPA program with us here in BC, you will have free and complete access to our job board. This is called our CPA BC Careers website. So many resources for you to get a head start in connecting yourself with employers seeking to hire you. This is an example of a few of our upcoming events that we're hosting in British Columbia. We have an in-person event called Power of Soft Skills. So for those of you that are living in the Vancouver area in British Columbia, you are more than welcome to attend this event in person. We also have an upcoming live webinar on February 28th called Q&A webinar. This is a high-level general question and answer period where we accept live questions from our audience members, where we will have 2 CPA BC recruitment officers answer on the spot. And again, for those individuals that perhaps live in Victoria in British Columbia, I am hosting a free network series Connect and Celebrate event, where guests can meet in person, designated CPAs, and employers seeking to hire for accounting positions. All these events, the Connect and Celebrate in particular, is focused on people who live and work in the Victoria area. Now, for our online events, you can be living anywhere in BC or even overseas, but you're planning to make your move to British Columbia. Yes, you are welcome to attend those online events with us. Not everyone has the time to participate in our live online events. We're lucky enough, we're able to record many of these events. This is how you can have access to all the learning, all the knowledge, to learn more about what is the CPA designation in Canada, who are the employers in British Columbia, what do designated CPA members do, where do they work, what are the career and the Canadian work culture in Canada. All these events that have been recorded are free play on demand. You can enjoy them viewing in the comfort of your own home. Now, I've included a few additional external resources for individuals, and I will be copy and pasting all this information into the chat after I present. This is some additional information to continue your own information gathering process to find out who are the top employers in Canada that I might want to apply to obtain accounting employment. What is the salary guide in accounting and finance positions based on Canadian salaries? There is also information from Robert Half, which is an employment agency. They are international, and yes, they're in Canada as well. They also host their own blog, sharing tips, advice, and insights on employment. Now, if we move to the future, so what happens after you, as an ICAI, graduate and confer that CPA designation here in British Columbia? What are the regulatory requirements? Now, on our website, on the CPA BC website, we have a web page that is dedicated to new members who've conferred that CPA designation here in BC. On the right-hand side, you will see a table of contents containing many FAQs based on your query. And our CPA BC membership department will be your direct point of contact at that future stage. So right now, this does conclude the presentation part from CPA BC. I'm going to unshare my screen and I'm going to pass the mic over to my colleagues at the CPA Western School of Business. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Sheila. I'll be sharing my screen now, and I'll go over things for assessment and admission into CPA PEP, the CPA program. Just give me a second to. Oh, it says I'm not able to share my screen, sorry. Is there a way that I can get access for that? Okay, thank you. Okay. So first, starting off, in case you forgot, I'm Janessa. I work at CPA Western School of Business, and I'm just going to be giving an overview now of the PEP program, reviewing the exemptions that you're eligible for on the MOU pathway, and also going over the process to get your assessment, the admission, the timeline, and the fees. So first of all, CPA Western School of Business is the CPA school for all of Western Canada. I have little stars here on the map for every location that we work with, every province and territory. And I have the blue star there for Alberta. That is where I am here now in Edmonton. First of all, I wanted to give a little overview of the PEP program. So this is the program that you'd be entering into becoming to complete your CPA program. The PEP program has 3 main points. There's 6 modules, the common final exam, which we call CFE or CFE, and 30 months of recognized work experience. So this is what needs to be completed in order for you to be able to apply for membership. But of course, as MOUs, you have exemptions from the 6 modules, and they become optional for you. And of course, I assume many of you have at least 30 months work experience already, if not more. So the key word here is that it's recognized work experience. So to get started on how you would go about doing this, a lot of you are probably already past this step, but you'd go to the CPAWSB.ca website and create a portal account right there where it says My CPA Portal. Once you're into the portal account, the very next thing you need to do is request a transcript assessment. Along the same time, also send a message to ICIA, to your membership body there, ask them to send us a letter of good standing. It's great if you do those both on the same day so that we won't have to wait for one while you get the other one done. Don't worry about how long your transcript assessment will be valid for. It's open for 6 months before we would close it without any sort of documents. So you have plenty of time there. The fee for the transcript assessment is currently $100. After April 1st and onwards, the fee is going to be $150. Once we have your letter from ICIA, we will complete your transcript assessment within 5 business days. And I know it's called a transcript assessment. That's just a name that we have on it, but we don't actually need transcripts from you. As long as we have that letter of good standing, that will be sufficient for the assessment that we need. And this assessment will just confirm that you are eligible to be on this MOU pathway. And you need to have this completed before you're able to enter the PEP program. So the next step is recognizing work experience. So this actually would happen after your admission application is approved, but I'm talking about it here now because the admission application is a slightly more complicated topic, so I wanted to get the easier ones out of the way. Your work experience, like I said, a lot of you already have at least 30 months. So this, we need, for it to count for your designation, we need it recognized. In order to get it recognized, you just need to submit a couple of documents. And this, once your admission application is approved, we send you a link, which will have a link to some of these documents. Have a link to the consent form and have information on how to submit these documents, sorry. So we will already have your letter of good standing at this point because we would have already done your transcript assessment. So we'll need you to submit the resume and the consent form. And then there's a difference here between how many years of post-designation experience you have. The designation date we'll take is the date of membership on the letter from ICIA. And you need to have at least 2 years post-designation in order to be able to get this exemption and this recognition of the 30 months. And so if you have 2 years at least and less than 5 years, you would also submit a third-party verification of your degree. So something like World Education Services, the WES report is perfectly fine. If you have at least 5 years or more, you don't need to submit that. Of course, you're more than welcome to, but you don't have to. And we encourage you to do this as soon as possible. First of all, just so you don't forget. And second of all, because you don't want to get your past CFE results and then realize you haven't had your work experience recognized yet and have a bit of a delay there. Because the committee that reviews this only meets every 2 months. So sometimes it can take a while to get your results. Also, just wanted to clarify, this isn't linked to your CFE. You don't need to do it or have it completed in order to participate in the CFE. It's just nice to kind of get it out of the way. Okay, so next I'm going on to the admission application. First, for the admission application, I wanted you to know that there's 2 types of registration within our program. First, there's registration into the PEP program, and then there's registration for modules or the CFE. So you need to have the admission application completed before you can register in any modules or into the CFE. Also, the admission application will take a couple of business days to process. Once you submit an admission application, we will send you an email and confirm with you what modules, if any, you want to take and what CFE you want to take. This is just to make sure that you're applying for the session that best suits your needs, and also that we can apply the correct exemptions. Because although you're exempted from all of the modules, you do have an option to take them, and we do recommend taking Capstone too, to help prepare you for the CFE. So this is the point when you would confirm on that. You can change them later, but it's we try and make it starting off with what you want right then. So it takes about as long as it takes for you to get back to us, can extend or shorten how long the admission application takes. And also, once your admission application is approved, you'll get access to NOSHA and D2L within 1 month of the approval date. So once you apply for admission and it's approved, we send off a request to CPA Canada and they grant you access within about a month. So the next big question is when to apply. We have 2 main sessions, the spring and the fall session, and they come with the May CFE and the September CFE. So first, if you're applying for the spring session, you can get access to, you can choose if you want to take the May CFE or the September CFE. If you're just applying to the fall session, you would only have access to the fall. Next is when you can apply. If you apply for the spring session, it will be from December until April, and the fall session is April until August. Now, note that is how long you can apply, but if you want to hit the May CFE or the fall CFE, you need to apply closer to the first end of these. So like the late December to January is the registration for the May CFE, and the fall CFE is April to May. But technically you can still apply for them all this period. Another big difference in the two of these is the fees for them. So they both have initial registration fee of $470. So this is the first time you register within our program. You pay initial $470 registration fee. The fee that is different is the annual dues. So the annual dues for spring session is $1,115, and for the half year or the fall session is $560. So our school year runs from April 1st to March 31st. So that's why when you apply for the spring, that's considered the full year. And when you apply for the fall, that's considered the half year. These are annual dues. So you do need to pay for these every year you're in the program. If you enter in the fall, that's the only time you get the half year's dues. And then for either session that you apply for, it would be around this time the next year that you'd register for the next year and pay the annual dues for the next year. So if you applied for spring session right now, you'd get your access to the program right away. And though you wouldn't be able to take any modules or any exams until after April 1st, but you'd still get that access right away. And you wouldn't need to re-enroll or pay the annual dues for the next year until about this time next year. If you go for the fall, you'd pay the half year's dues when you register, and then you wouldn't need to pay for the annual dues again until this time next year. And then you'd pay for the full year at that point, the full year for next year. And then also, I just wanted to really highlight some of our other fees that we have here, and just really making sure this is accurate as of February 15th, 2024, today. There are other fees, but these are the most common ones that you will see. A lot of them I already went over. The admission application, initial registration fee, the full year's dues, the half year's dues. There's also a fee there for Capstone 2. And then review materials module. So that means if you just want the review material for Capstone 2, as opposed to taking the full Capstone 2. And then the common final exam. The difference between the Capstone 2 full module and the review materials module, that's something that Sean will go over in his presentation. It's deciding how you want to prepare for the CFE is another part of making your decision for when you register. So I just went over some of the admission side of it, but Sean will help you go over the study material preparation side of it. And of course, if anybody has any questions, you can ask me now, or you can put it in the chat, or we can answer at the end, whichever works best.
I have a few questions, Janessa. So one is, if somebody is planning to take September 24 CFE, I mean, what's the benefit to register in the spring session? I mean, rather than fall, right?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. There's a couple benefits. The first benefit is that it gives you access to participate in Capstone 2 if you're choosing to take that. Because for Capstone 2, that if you wait to register for the fall session, it's not offered in the fall session, so you won't have access to that. Also, it gives you earlier access to things like NOSHA and D2L, so you can have time to settle in and look through those materials. And the third thing is that it does split up the payments a little bit. So if you wait until April, then you're registering your initial registration fee, and then you have your half-year annual dues, and then you have your CFE fee, right? Back to back. There's no deferring those payments or payment plans. But if you register now, you register for the spring, you pay all that right now, and then in April, you could register for the CFE. So it's, I always thought of that as a bit of a benefit.
Good, thanks. And can you also tell about the public practice requirements if somebody passes a CFE? I mean,
okay, so for that, that would need to be, I'm not sure who would answer that, if that'd be Sean or Sheila. Here within the CPA program, we give you a blanket recognition of those 30 months. without the recognition of the competencies. So that would be something, if we don't have somebody here who can talk about that, then that would be something that you would need to talk to your provincial body further about that.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Janessa. Vandana, you can ask your question.
Hi, Janessa. It was a quite informative session. I just wanted to know that is it mandatory to take Capstone 2 if you are under an MOU and already a qualified chartered accountant from India with more than 5 years of experience?
Nope, not mandatory. You're exempted from all of the prerequisites based on the MOU. We just recommend it because we find that Capstone 2 provides people with the way CPA Canada wants these questions answered. So there's usually the knowledge is there, but the specific differences in how we like it answered isn't there. So that's what we find is helpful with Capstone 2. And also, so you'll be in that module, you get the feedback from the CM markers who do the CFE. So, but Sean can speak a little bit more on that. That's definitely something that he would know a lot about.
Okay, and in case I want to take up the CFE in the fall, September 24, so when is the best time to register? Like after March?
If you're planning to take Capstone 2, you can register now. It won't change the fee. Registering now, you can register in spring, and that's the same starting right now, and it would be the same if you register in April for the spring. But if you don't plan to take Capstone 2, you can wait until April when the fall session will open and register just for the fall session. Another thing that's a little bit of a downside about that is that if you do change your mind and you want to get Capstone 2, then it would be a process of withdrawing, re-enrolling for the spring, then enrolling for the Capstone 2. And so it can be a hard turnaround. It's quite a lot to do in a much shorter period of time.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Janessa.
Thank you.
I have a request for all the members. Let's have more presentation moving forward first, because there are a lot of questions which are coming from you will be covered in that presentation. So let's just have that portion of the presentation done, and then we will take all the questions one by one. I can see there is a lot of questions which is coming in the chat box also. So let's just try and cover them once we have the presentations done. So Natasha, if you can wait for a little bit longer, that would be helpful. Thank you. Back to you, Janessa.
Okay, no, that's a great idea. I just looked over then and saw how many there were in the chat, and yeah, that'd be quite a while, quite a bunch. I'm done my part of the presentation. So next it's up to you, Sean.
All right, if I've done that right, everybody should see my screen and hear my voice.
Absolutely right.
Perfect. So we're off to a good start then. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. My name is Sean. I'm the Director of Learner Support here at the CPA Western School of Business. So Learner Support really begins where the professional education program ends. So it's for individuals that are looking for something additional, like tutors or mentoring or additional ways to learn. And that's especially applicable to individuals that are direct to the CFE, like the MOU candidates. So Learner Support's role is really to look for ways to engage learners going through directly to prepare with the CFE, whether it's through the best combination of paid resources or there's some no-cost resources, and putting things together in a way for each of you to find success. So we're going to go a little bit over what the path to the CFE looks like and what some options are along the way to find success, and hopefully we'll answer some of the timing questions and the this or this questions in a way that works for different styles and different approaches to a particular CFE. So maybe I'll just quickly start off, and I think often CPA is sort of seen as CPA, but there's all these little organizations that all help each other out. So here we've got, tonight we have the CPA BC, they're the regulator, and they oversee the practical experience requirements and regulate the province. Here we see the CFE. This is what we're going to talk about mostly here for the next couple of minutes. And that's really where the CPA Western School of Business comes in. The Western School of Business supports all of the Western provinces to deliver the national professional education program and ultimately the CFE. So if there's a learning or education question, that usually best comes to the school, the CPA Western School of Business. And if it's a regulatory and admission questions as well, to admissions to the school. But in terms of admissions to membership or regulatory or practicing public accounting, these are best answered by the provincial body and CPA BC in this case. So we'll get started here. We'll be talking, well, just about the MOU journey, what that looks like from today towards the CFE, after the admissions process, which Janice has already spoken about. Then we'll talk about a little bit how the CFE is made, and knowing how the CFE is made is going to help us understand how to approach the CFE. Then one of the key components to that is the CPA competency map, and we'll introduce that and how it contributes to the CFE. And then the CPA way that we'll talk briefly, we'll talk about one item in preparation for the CFE, and that's the CPA way. So if I could pinpoint one area where I find candidates, any type of candidate struggles the most with the CFE, it's understanding and delivering the CPA way. So we'll touch on that briefly. Of course, any presentation on the CFE could take hours or days, or there's some week workshops on the CFE. So I have no illusions we'll get to that level tonight, but we'll see if we can touch one topic at least. And then lastly, where the school has been working on some new CFE support initiatives, specifically for MOU learners. So to the question, when should I register for the CFE? This could answer some of that questions for some of you. So the CFE. So with the MOU journey, the goal is to get the CPA, and MOUs have a great arrangement where you can go directly to the CFE, and it's really the only thing standing between you and the CPA. But you get to step over the professional education program, which is a 2-year program. The average candidate, I think, takes about 4.2 years to complete it. So what you've done outside of CPA PEP needs to somehow cover this. So the real thought is, okay, what combination of things can one do on the way to the CFE to ensure CFE success when we don't have this immersion in PEP? So we need to find something to replace it. What do we do between now and the CFE? We don't want to sit around. We want to do something, but what could that be? So let's break down the CFE a little bit. So CFE, of course, is 3 days, day 1, day 2, day 3, where day 1 is a holistic view. It focuses more on managerial accounting and strategy and analysis. Day 2 is more on the technical financial reporting. And then day 3 is multi-competency. So it's a little bit of everything across three smaller cases, where day 2 is a single case and day 1 is a single case. So the best way to prepare for the CFE is Capstone 2. The Capstone 2 is often called the CFE preparation module. It does little else than prepare one for the CFE. So this seems like a good place to spend time. However, MOU candidates are exempt from the CFE, and we often find there might be a bit of a miscommunication in that. Like with an exemption, often that messages as you're exempt from it because you have the equivalent of it. So with PEP being a graduate level program, it focuses on the enabling competencies. And Canada is unique, even among Canadian universities, where at the graduate level, it's focusing on the enabling competencies. And most all institutions, other than CPA PEP graduate level studies, don't focus so much on the enabling competencies like critical thinking, judgment, decision-making. They focus mostly on the technical competencies. So Capstone 2 is really a focus on preparing for the CFE, real focus on demonstrating enabling competencies. So even though there's an exemption, I find it is the best way to spend your time preparing for the CFE is in the CFE preparation module. However, unfortunately, it's not free. There is a cost to it. So what we can also look at, there's something called the Intro to Capstone 2 module. So one of the criticisms of Capstone 2 was that there's a lot of scheduling activities, a lot of planning. Can I get this material in advance? So that's where Intro to Capstone 2 came from. And over time, more and more resources have gone into this. And this is a free module available at all times to anyone that's a CFE registrant. So the moment you register, so not necessarily admit to the school, but once you're a CFE registrant, you'll get access to the Intro to Capstone 2 module, and there's lots of activities in there that you can use to use your time for. So really that's what we want to do, is we can take Intro to Capstone 2 and Capstone 2 and take roughly the time between now and the CFE, and we can replace what we have done in PEP with these items here. So knowing that that can be the plan for the journey to the CFE, well, how do we begin with the end in mind? What is the CFE? What is it made of? So there's three key ingredients. There's lots of ingredients, but there's three key ones we'll focus on here tonight. That's the CPA competency map, the Board of Examiners report, and the blueprint. So the competency map is the foundational document that drives what the CFE is going to be from a content perspective. The blueprint is what the CFE is going to be from a logistics perspective. How many days? What's on it? What are the weighted? What are the percentage breakdowns? And then the board report is something that's prepared after the CFE that says how the CFE went, what the board thought of the writers. So we can get some information out of this. So let's get into each of these three items in a little more detail. So the Board of Examiners report, one of the most important messages we'll find in there, and all of these items are linked here at the bottom of the slide, and these slides we can provide afterwards as well too. The Board of Examiners report has the message to candidates, and the message to candidates is how each candidate, well, not each candidate, but candidates as general performed on a particular CFE. So we'll see topics saying the board was happy with this, the board was happy with this, but where the board found general weakness, this is a great area to look, because if we can take a list of all the items that the Board of Examiners felt generally were weak, if those are the items that we target during our study, that's probably some of the best way we can be using our time. So we'll see things like not supporting analysis. So we didn't bring in facts from the case to support why we're doing something. Or we might see blending of analysis. So we might not be distinctly performing discrete analyses to stand well on their own. Or we might see things like time management, where candidates spent too much time on one and ran out of time on the others. So if we see these things that went wrong for other candidates in other sittings, this can help us prepare for your sitting. The CFE blueprint, this is a good document because it's always good to know what's going to happen when you show up at the exam center. How many hours am I going to be there? What are the topics on this one? So this is a good document to read and understand. It's 1 or 2 pages, but this is a good thing to know with the foundation of the CFE. And the competency map, where the CFE blueprint is a small document, the competency map is hundreds of pages, and it's used to build the entire PEP program and the CFE. So let's go into some detail on the CPA competency map. So what it's designed to do is show the proficiency level that candidates are expected to demonstrate on the CFE. And we'll get into what proficiency levels are in just a moment. So the proficiency levels are distinctly get higher and higher as you progress through the PEP program, culminating with the CFE. So we go through level C with the lowest all the way up to level A, more towards the CFE. So we can find the competency map on the CPA Canada website. It is a national document. It was 2 parts, and then it was 1 part, and now it's 2 parts again. So the first part is if you're a post-secondary institution and want to build a course and need to know very foundational things, that's not what we want to do. We want to go to part 2. Part 2 is the technical competencies that are examinable in any module and any exam and the CFE. This is what we want to have a look at. And also you can see at the bottom here as well too, there's also an Excel tool for the competency map. So this will be a PDF when you download it. If you want it in Excel to serve as a checklist, or some of us like to use Excel a little more than a PDF, the tool is excellent. So go ahead and use that link to get to the tool as well too. So the competency map is a very large document, and no one element of PEP, including the CFE at any time, can address the whole competency map. But we'll never know which part any part is going to target. For example, the CFE could draw from any particular part of the competency map on any particular sitting. So unfortunately, we have to have a fairly strong working knowledge of all the pieces, but that doesn't necessarily mean that any particular one item will be on the CFE. Where we see this mismatch happen the most is in a module, for example, Capstone 2. Any PEP module is only 8 weeks long, and the Capstone 2 is 7 weeks. 7 weeks is only going to cover so much of the competency map. And the CFE is under no obligation to cover what was in any particular module. So the goal is to be ready for the CFE using the competency map, and all other materials are only guidance to help ultimately prepare for the CFE. So don't mistake that there's a one-to-one relationship. And we see this in a lot of post-secondary institutions and undergraduate, the classic question in the classroom, will this be on the test? Will this be on the test? And often you study it and it's on the test. With PEP being graduate level studies, everything is fair game from day one. So just make sure that's understood when going through the materials. We can't draw a straight line. This is all just items to help us prepare broadly from a competency map level. So in the competency map, how we can use it, this is one of the pages. We can see we're just finishing up the finance section, 5.6 here, and then it goes into the taxation section 6. So these are electives, but these topics are also present in the core modules as well too. And we can see they're at entry. So what entry means is it's sort of entry to PEP is sort of exit from your undergraduate degree. So the entry level in the competency map, where you would start the whole program, is essentially where university ends. So the competency map is really a summary of your entire 4-year university degree. And we can see at entry level, C proficiency, B proficiency, fair lower on that scale of C to B to A. And then we can see as we enter the cores, some of these competencies begin to go to a B. Some are absent and some are present. And then as we go from core, we go to the elective level. You can see that, of course, in the finance elective, the level A's are present. In the tax one, the level, in the tax one, we go to level A there as well too. Now, why that's important is the CFE is at the core level. So when you're using the competency map, you want to be able to at least demonstrate technical competencies at the proficiency at the core level. So on this page, these ones happen to be B. On day 2 of the CFE, you select one of the 4 roles. We can see here performance management, finance, assurance, and tax. For specifically those role parts of the CFE, that's where you'll demonstrate proficiency at the elective level. So if you were to pick tax on the CFE, you would need to demonstrate just the elective area at the elective proficiency level here. If you found a tax AO on another part of the CFE that wasn't in the tax role area, you would be doing it at the core level, just like all other candidates. So it's apples to apples for all candidates. The role is just where each candidate is having a unique CFE. Everywhere else is a common CFE. So that's how you use these columns in the competency map. So now, what is level C, B, and A? What are the proficiency levels? So essentially level C is mostly at the undergraduate level, at the university level. So it doesn't mean don't think of level C, B, and A as easy and hard. Think of it as C is more technical competency dominant, and level A is getting towards more enabling competency dominant. So more critical thinking, judgment, decision-making. So level C can be very difficult. Some technical problems can be extremely difficult, but they call it level C because it's less critical thinking, less why am I doing this calculation? It's more what to do. Can you do it? Can you get to a right answer? So here it's retrieval and comprehension and explaining, describing, doing. Then when we move into B, we're starting to slide towards the enabling competencies. So it's not just doing, it's not just explaining, it's turning it into knowledge, analyzing rather than doing, and then drawing a conclusion. Just because there's a result, what does this result mean? And then going a step further at level A, applying some logic to it. Who is your audience? How do you communicate with them? And going more in depth with things and really using critical thinking there. Now, if we get to non-routine or highly complex situations, these are typically not on the exam. The Board of Examiners recognizes that this is an exam situation. So, and especially things like non-routine and highly complex, we won't find these on the exam typically. If we're looking for some more details on proficiency, because we could go into quite a bit of detail on these, you can go into section 6 of the competency map, and you'll see that you can, there's an example and it'll show a sample response at level C, level B, and level A. And this is what it will look like. This is what it will look like there. It's just a brief little synopsis. Okay, so we'll round out here with the CPA way. So this is the main enabling competencies framework for the CFE. And when we're advising unsuccessful candidates on the CFE, this is typically where we isolate the challenge to be. So most candidates overall possess more than sufficient technical competency and analysis skills to perform well on the CFE. And that's sort of a blessing and a curse because everyone's such a good accountant. They take so much time on question one and then run out of time on the later questions on the CFE. So it's really not about showing the technical prowess. It's sort of understood that you're already an excellent accountant. So what we want to see is in a time-constrained environment, can you pick out the most important things? That way, if time runs out, are the things that are left over less important compared to the things you wrote about? So that's where this model comes in. This is on the CPA Canada website. There's a video about it and a document about it, but we'll just zoom in here a bit. Starting off with the CPA mindset, just sort of looking at what are the main issues here. So there'll be some requireds, there'll be some asks, but what's really going on in the case? What are the facts? Is there something going on in the background that's not being asked? And the cases aren't trying to trick you. They're trying to be deliberate, but are you seeing the whole picture and how things are integrating together? Assessing the situation, what's going on, and this sets up the why you do the analysis. The analysis of the major issues is typically where most people are strong, and this they go right into analyzing the issue. But why? Why are we analyzing this issue? Why do we want to do that? What are we trying to come to an outcome of? And then this leads into the conclude and advise. Candidates are typically excellent with the conclude component, but the advise component, who are you talking to? Is it a small shop owner? Is it an audit partner? These are two different advising messages. And this ties into the communicate as well, too, knowing who your audience is. And then once you're enrolled in the program, there is a whole textbook on this as well, too. There's the Enabling Competencies textbook, and we'll see there's also the CPA way has gone into quite a bit of detail in here as well, too. So we could go into quite a bit more detail on items available. So that's a bit of a snapshot. The Intro to Capstone 2, which is free and everyone has access to. Highly recommended Capstone 2. And we've also got some new resources here we'll talk about as well, too. So I don't know if this infographic has gone out yet or not, but so this year, 2024, we had a small pilot last year, but I think we're more broadly launching it here, the MOU CFE Support Initiative. And it was really created to offer individuals going direct to CFE more resources and guidance when they prepare for the CFE. It is tailored towards a September right, just because of the timing and everything seems to work in most cases. So anyone admitted to CPA Western School of Business under an MOU agreement is eligible to register and participate, and it is for first time and for reattempting the CFE. There are some things you can do in advance of the CFE registration date, but the CFE registration period is from April 8th to May 27th. Now, just because the CFE enrollment period is those dates, if you know you're registering for the September CFE, there's no reason not to enroll with the school now and get started with your studies, because there's lots of resources available to you once you're a candidate with the school. So some of the resources that are available are a dedicated online learning environment. So there's an area specifically for direct to CFE writers, including MOU candidates. There's going to be 6 webinars. So we've done the Capstone 2 workshop. We brought it a lot earlier. And instead of being a weekend, we're delivering it over 6 2-hour sessions much earlier so that you can see these skills and take them into some practice case writing rather than learning these skills afterwards. There will be ongoing weekly office hours. So there's some time where there'll be a marker that's available that you can stop in and ask questions to, and that will be offered weekly. There's also weekly practice cases that you can submit with a tracking sheet as well too, so you can self-assess. There'll also be some facilitator case marking and feedback, and we're still working on the logistics of that, but there'll be an opportunity for marking and feedback. And any new resources that we're developing as well too will be made available as well too. So we'll have a quick look at the calendar here. So if we have a September CFE all the way off to the right there on the week, so these are all Fridays here for the days of the week. So the September Friday 13th, there's the CFE. We can see the Capstone 2 leading up to that. And then before Capstone 2, we have the Intro to Capstone 2. So then there's some weekly submission dates there that we're looking at getting some marking and feedback for. There's the 6 workshop sessions there offered coming up pretty quickly here. And then we've also got a case writing tutorial we're hosting next week as well too, that we can invite everyone to as well. So if there's any questions about the initiative, you can reach the learner support. And this one, you can go directly to initiatives at CPA Western School of Business.ca, CPAWSB.ca, or you can visit the learner support website. And of course, if you have any admission questions, the admission services team is available for everyone there too as well. That is all.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much. That was very informative. And I'm wondering, oh, I should have known this information before I wrote my CPA examination.
Come a long way.
Thank you so much. I know there are a lot of questions which people have been asking. Do you want to pass on to someone else, or can we take up the questions?
I can answer questions. We can pass off the questions, whatever works best.
So let me just take up the questions. I will mention one by one each question which we have and haven't been answered so far in the chat box. We can take up from there. And after that, we can allow people to come back, raise their hands, and we'll take one by one each question from them. So we'll spend a few minutes answering everyone's question and answers, and then we'll go from there. So the first question, which was actually asked by Natasha, and multiple questions she asked, and I know part of her questions are already answered. So I'll just go back again and I'll ask Natasha. Natasha, do you still have your questions to be answered? The questions which you asked originally were, does CPA Ontario waive off the ASD if the student is unemployed?
Yeah, I still have that question. So first, Nikita, is like, do you know if, I know this is not like Ontario chapter, but are you aware if we can get any kind of waiver on the student dues under any exception situations?
I can take that. We're not aware, unfortunately. The dues for CPA Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic, and all their processes is separate from ours. So you would need to reach out to them.
Check with them. Okay. The second question was, do you think I have access to D2L and I can see all the subjects and enough content there. Is that enough, or do you recommend any other, like, I don't know, paid material or some other websites to refer to?
Yeah, so what you can do in the meantime, so we're just rolling these things out. So as a existing MOU student with the school, you'll be informed of all these new items. So, but in the absence of them, so there's the Intro to Capstone 2 in the CFE module, which I believe you have access to. If you don't, just email learner support and we'd be happy to help you out. But maybe what I'll do is at the end, maybe I can quickly go into the module and I can show you exactly how you can spend 4 years in it, if you like. There's definitely enough there. And I can show you it's mostly technical study, which is important, so I don't want to downplay it, but then I'll also show you where you can practice your enabling competencies as well too. Maybe we'll see how much time we have at the end, just because that can be a big question, but we'll cover it.
Sure. And one very silly question maybe, is this a handwritten exam or like typed online?
Typed.
Typed? Oh, that's stressful. Okay, thank you. Those are all the questions.
Well, don't worry about the stress. So the CFE is not a speed writing exam, a speed reading exam. It's a critical thinking exam. So it feels like there's not enough time, because if you look at a case, the solution is probably 20 pages and you get enough time to write 1 page. And this is very difficult for accountants and completionists and perfectionists and type A to I know how to write these 20 pages. Just let me do it. I'll prove it. You've already proved it. You did your undergraduate, you have your designation. We are absolutely convinced that you're already a great accountant. Now, that hour you spend, please do get it right. Otherwise, we may be unconvinced. But if that hour is right, we will assume the 9 hours that wasn't present would have been right if we had given you enough time, and we deliberately didn't. Now, the question is, how did you spend your hour? Knowing that, so do you spend all your time on the first question and run out because you got to, so it's not a speed exam. It's if you notice the important issues, you might find that you need to write a lot less. So when I used to run an exam center, I would look around the room and I'd see everybody clacking away on the keyboards, and every once in a while I'd see somebody doing that. And I'm sure they got, so it's not a speed writing exam, but it is if you feel like you want to cover everything. It can't be done. It's demonstrable that it can't be done. So work on the critical thinking, and we'll talk about that at the end if there's time.
Okay, those are all the questions I had. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikita. So we have another question which is in the chat box, and the question is from Rachna Kapadia, and she is asking, if you previously had started your registration while residing in BC province and are currently residing in a different province, what would be the process?
Okay, that would depend on where you are in the registration process. If you are still a student in our program, just contact the CPA application email, and we can help you out with that. If you're currently a member, then you would need to go to your provincial body and connect with them about how to transfer your membership over to a different province.
I think that helps with the answer. Another question is coming from Natasha, and she's asking, what if you don't get the access to nausea after even 1 month?
Email us in. If there's no access, email CPA application and we'll help you out. I haven't seen that situation happen, but I mean, anything's possible, and we'll look into how to get you access as soon as possible.
Okay, sounds
Thank you for, sorry, I would like to have one more follow-up question on this one.
go ahead.
Thank you, Sonal, and thank you, Janessa, for the information. But one thing further, like I have been trying to follow up with CPA BC on the nausea access thing. I was asked for my credentials, like my student ID, and when I shared my student ID, I was told that the CPA BC was not able to trace me. I do have the D2L access, but I do not have the nausea access.
Okay, you're gonna have to email in to CPA application about that. If you email in, we have your student ID number, and we can contact CPA BC and get about getting you access. I'm not sure why they couldn't recognize your number at that time, but you just contact us. It starts with us, so we'll work at getting you access.
Thank you so
And
much.
also, you might have it through your employer in the meantime as well, too. So the access we grant to NOSHA is just for the standards, the CPA handbook, the Income Tax Act. It's possible your employer has also granted you access. There's no difference other than that our materials are accessible during exam where your employers wouldn't.
Thank you, Sean and Janessa. There's another question which is from Saroj, and she is asking, what shall be the residential status of students' open work permit, PR, and citizenship in Canada?
So is this question from Siraj?
Yes.
Siraj, yes. So I actually private messaged Siraj, and we've been communicating behind the scenes. So Siraj, you do have my contact information, and then we can have a more private conversation one-on-one in regards to your immigration status and your permit status there. Thank you.
But just an open question on this, Sheila, because a lot of members have been coming back and forth and asking us, can I actually appear for an exam with CPA if I have a work permit or if I come on a visitor visa?
Right, right. So anyone who is a temporary resident in Canada, so temporary resident means you are either a work permit holder or a study permit holder or visitor permit holder. Now, in order for us to grant access to temporary residents, access to our academics, that means the examinations, any of the modules, for example, the person needs to hold a study permit and a work permit when they're enrolled in the CPA program here in British Columbia. The reason why is because our CPA professional education program consists both of a study component, academics, and the work experience component. So this requirement, yes, it is applicable to MOU applicants as well. Now, we've all heard from the news, IRCC, Government of Canada, had introduced a temporary public policy. Now, that was announced, I believe it was June 27, 2023. This temporary public policy allowed some work permit holders the authorization to study without having to hold a study permit. It's not automatically granted to you if you have a work permit. So the Government of Canada has notified those work permit holders that do qualify under this temporary public policy if they do qualify. Now, if this is you, there are further instructions as to how you are to show the CPA Western School of Business, oh, I qualify under this temporary public policy. Those specific instructions and details, I'm sure the CPAWSB assessors can communicate with that individual. If memory serves, basically, if someone was granted a work permit on June 7, 2023 or before, or they had their work permit in process effective June 7, 2023 or before, might qualify for this temporary work policy. So if anyone is a work permit holder and, oh, I don't know if I qualify, IRCC would have notified you. They would have let you know. But if anyone on the line has any additional questions about that, I would invite individuals to perhaps send me an email as a start, and then I can perhaps connect you to Janessa and the CPA Western School of Business assessments team for that next step. But if you just want to know for sure what's the information, I'm not really sure, you can check with me directly. And I always have follow-up questions for you, so please do reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Shrila. That does clarify a few of our questions. Yes, so it was great to hear the answer from here. There is one more question from Mohan Krishnan. Mohan is asking, I think, but this question probably is for us, not for you guys, so we'll take it up. Is there any website link via CPA Canada website to get the letter of good standing from ICAI? So Mohan, there is no direct connectivity between CPA Canada website and ICAI website. But on the ICAI website, you do have a portal, members portal, where you can go online and request for the letter of good standing. When you're requesting for the letter of good standing, you can actually put it into the email address for the CPAWSB, that the letter of good standing should go directly to their email address rather than coming to you. But it's a very simplified process. If you'll go on the login credentials of your member portal, you will be able to find it. But if you don't have any answer on that particular portal and you have any confusions, you need more clarity, please reach out to us at info@icaibc.com and we'll be happy to answer you for that particular question. I'm gonna take, so there is a follow-up question actually on your question, Sheila. Sorry, on your response on the visa permits. Do we need to take study permit additionally if already have study permit for doing MBA?
So if you are currently enrolled in an MBA program, your study permit, on your actual study permit, your designated learning institution lists that college or university that you're enrolled in doing your MBA. So after you graduate your MBA, please apply for post-graduation work permit. Remember, because you need a work permit and a study permit in order to do CPA program. Again, this is applicable to MOU applicants. Finish your MBA program, knock it out of the park. When you graduate, from inside of BC, you apply for post-graduation work permit online from the Government of Canada. Once you have that, you also apply for your ICAI MOU assessment with the CPA Western School of Business. They're allowed to give you the results. When they give you the results, you email your evaluator back and you request your acceptance letter to the CPA program. We call this letter your letter to study permit. This is an appendix letter. From inside of BC, you go online to the Government of Canada website and you apply to do two things with your current study permit. You're applying for a new study permit. Your new study permit will list your DLI number, will be CPA BC / CPA Western School of Business. And the time, the duration on that new study permit will reflect your connection of your enrollment to the CPA program with us. So it's those two steps that you will be required to do. The most important thing you want to keep in mind for yourself is that you will be required to hold a work permit as well. So the post-graduation work permit, as most people are aware, is granted to individuals once in their lifetime. So you want to take full advantage of having that post-grad work permit. MBA degree holders, usually their program is 2 years long. It's considered full-time. IRCC can grant 2 years. Most of the time, they're granting 3 years. Open work permit connected to your post-graduation work permit. So once you get your new study permit, you provide those details directly to the CPA Western School of Business. They update your file, and you have online access to the academics you're required to do with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you so much. So we're going to take 2 more questions, one from Vandana and one from Harshit. So Vandana, you want to go first?
Yeah, has Sheila mentioned that after the postgraduate work permit only we can apply for this thing, but can we do the assessment before that when we are in these, even I am doing an MBA and I'm currently having a study permit for the MBA. So can I start the assessment process and be a member of the CPA, and is that possible?
So I'm going to jump in here, and then maybe Janessa, you can jump in after me. In regards to timing, so just so you know, you can certainly apply for your assessment with CPAWSB as an ICAI MOU pathway, and we're allowed to give you the results. When you have the results, my understanding is that the results are valid for 12 months from the date the results are given to you.
Okay.
That 12-month period is very important. That 12-month is a window. Sometimes people go on holidays. This is a 12-month window also for you to get sorted all the permits you're required to get for when you do enroll officially and register directly with CPA. So my recommendation, especially for current MBA students, don't apply too early because you want to take advantage of most of that 12-month time. What I would recommend is apply for your CPAWSB assessment, I would say the last month of your MBA program. That way you'll receive the results probably around the same time that you will graduate from your MBA and you apply for postgrad work permit. So while you're awaiting the results from CPAWSB, you might get it earlier than when you're granted postgrad work permit. That's okay. Just hold on to that result until after you have postgrad work permit, and then you apply for the new study permit.
Okay. So is there a deadline for the September CFE exam? Because my graduation will be complete in June 24. So if I start the process in May, is that okay? Or for taking up the exam in September 24?
Okay, so I just wanted to pop on here. So first, for the registration for the September CFE, that one actually closes in May. You can register for it late. There's a waitlist fee, and it's May 27th, but then that will exclude you. You'll have less time to study and not able to take capstone 2 if that's something that you did want to take. Also, for the process of applying for your study permit through our processes, you would need to have your transcript assessment completed first, so that we can issue you the letter of appendix. And from ICIA, your transcript assessments are only valid for 6 months, because that's when the letter of good standing expires. If you wanted to extend it, we would need an updated letter of good standing. And then at maximum you can have is 1 year of validity, but it very much goes 6 months from the date of issue on the letter of good standing.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That answers my question.
Thank you, Janessa. Thank you, Vandana. Harshit, you can go ahead. That would be the last question we'll take for now. Any other questions any of you has? All three, Janessa, Shiva, and Sean has shared their email address. Feel free to drop them an email. I hope they're okay to receive the email, and they will get back to you with their timings. So Harshit, go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, hi. Thank you for this opportunity. And sorry, the last question is mine, but yeah, I'll try not to bother much. The session helped me a lot. My quick question was, I have a WES evaluation with me, which I did for immigration, and which has my university degree and my CA degree evaluated. So will that work for the admission purpose and evaluation?
Yeah, that will work for your work experience evaluation. So we do want to see that degree on your WES report. But to enter the program, to get your exemptions, it's based on the letter of good standing. That is the golden ticket. So you need to contact ICIA, and that letter, they have a form letter that they send us. It's great. It's incredibly clear. It'll state that you're a current member, that you're when you became a member, and that you're in good standing currently. And that is what you need to submit, or it needs to be submitted by ICIA to us. And they already directed earlier how you could do that. So that's what we'd be looking for.
Oh, that's great. Just to add on to it. So for ICAI, it's very helpful. And there's also a requirement that if I hold a university degree, and then 2 years of work experience would be the eligibility criteria. So for the university degree, the WES evaluation report would work, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of people have learned a lot of things from this session today, and a lot of their questions got answered.